Man, if there's one thing that I love more than just talking about how good NHL prospects can be, it's adding fuel to the fire that will ignite discussion, controversy, comments, and an overall thought-provoking discussion as a whole that you could honestly make an argument for. Today, we're talking about the 2020 NHL Entry Draft, and this article that I found on TVA Sports, which highlights an idea that I didn't really think about all too much, beforehand at least. Because once I read this article, and once I actually understood the idea being presented in this article, I took a step back and I was like, it kinda does make sense. Now, I don't think this should happen, I don't think this will happen, but what I'm saying is an argument does exist. So let's go over this TVA Sports article where the writer puts a quote in the title of the article itself. If Lafrenière is number 1, I see Marco Rossi as number 2. An article written by Luis Jeans, who interviews agent Serge Payer. And yeah, you may recognize that name. He was a former NHL player. He played a full season with the Florida Panthers back in the day, also split some time with the Ottawa Senators. He's an agent now, and he actually represents a few players who are in the NHL systems. You got some guys like Darren Radish, William Bitton, and a few others that you may recognize on here. But his interview was published here on the TVA Sports, and he goes over why Marco Rossi to him is the second overall worthy prospect in this year's crop of players. For me, Lafrenière is my number 1 choice. Lafrenière is an extraordinary athlete, and without taking anything away from him, he deserves to be number 1 too. If Alexis is number 1, I see Marco as number 2. The rest of the article goes over a few other quotes as to what Payer is saying and why Marco Rossi is that good. But today I wanted to actually talk a little bit more on that idea of Rossi, because I have made my fair share of videos praising the Austrian center. But at the same time, those videos are from a few months ago. Making this video here today, we now have a full, or at least not really a full, but a completed OHL season's worth of analysis to go over here, and we didn't have that before. The Why I Want video comes to mind in particular. So what exactly is it that Payer is saying here? Marco Rossi, second overall caliber? What are you, nuts? Well, honestly, there's a pitch, in my opinion, that you can legitimately make and justify that does bring up that idea and does argue it very well. Marco Rossi, despite being a 5'9", 179-pound center in the OHL, has already established this reputation amongst the NHL fan community, prospects community, and some media that he may even be ready to step into the NHL next year. Now, a lot of that does have to do with the fact that he is one of the oldest players in this entire draft class, meaning that if you compare it to a Quinton Byfield, who is literally almost an entire year younger, it means that he has a full year's worth of development that he has over a guy like Quinton Byfield. But at the same time, Marco Rossi is still a 5'9", 179-pound center, and it's rare to see guys who are like that at 18 years old, turning 19, reach that echelon where people are actively saying, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this guy made the NHL day 1. Because Rossi is such an incredible talent. The poise that he possesses and the abilities that he has when he takes the puck away. It's just crazy to see how this guy can control the game at his own pace. Anytime he touches the puck, it turns to magic. He's able to evade players and open up space so calmly, efficiently, and effectively that he just has this magic quality to his game where he's able to do whatever he wants at whatever pace he feels like it. He holds onto the puck a lot, and a lot of people would say, oh, that's kind of a negative trait. It's easy for the play to die on his stick because he's small. All he needs is a big guy coming up against him to shove him away from the puck, and all of a sudden, boom, it's an offensive turnover. No, that doesn't really happen, because Marco Rossi has this weird ability to always find space and open himself away from danger. It's why he's able to hold on to the puck for so long, find that perfect playmaking opportunity, or take that shot with an open lane and score so many points. Well, just how many points did he have? Well, that's a great question because Marco Rossi finished off the OHL season with 120 points in 56 games. Yeah, he had a 2.14 points per game. He was the highest point scorer in the entire OHL and the highest point scorer in the CHL too. We had more points than Alexis Lafrenière for the Rimouski Océanic. That's great. It's absolutely great. And Rossi, despite being a guy who is small, who does have these quote-unquote frame issues, all that stuff, he's not big enough, he's not heavy enough, was still able to do so well, and is still establishing himself as a potentially NHL-ready prospect. Just the statistical comparisons here with other NHL prospects that we have had in the past. He legitimately had a better points per game than Mitch Marner in his draft year, Mitch Marner in his draft plus 1 year, also Matthew Tkachuk in his draft year, also Dylan Strome in his draft year and his draft plus 1. Marco Rossi has been so good, and there is no other way to establish how good he has been statistically without taking a look at the comparables around his name, like the John Tavareses and the Stromes and the Marners and the McDavids of the OHL in the past. So if any NHL team is out there in the top 3, the top 4, or the top 5, and they're looking for a player who could potentially impact their team as soon as that next upcoming season, Marco Rossi could very well be your guy, and if you want to prioritize the short-term success as well as the long-term prosperity that does exist with this kind of player, then honestly, I could understand the idea of taking him second overall, especially in front of a Quinton Byfield, who some would say actually does need another year in the OHL to develop because he is quite literally almost an entire year younger than Marco Rossi. Marco Rossi is a guy who could help out right now, and the problems to his game, or at least the lack thereof problems to his game, are one of the biggest qualities that make people believe that yes, NHL success in the short-term future is something that could exist in the frame of Marco Rossi. So you could argue against the Byfield that he would be a more valuable pickup depending on the team that you're asking. In the eyes of a Tim Stützle, however, who presents a different argument, because he is somebody who some people are saying does indeed possess NHL caliber talents already as well, there's a difference there, because Stützle was playing in Germany, Stützle was playing on a pro league already, and some people definitely do value that very highly. I'm one of those people indeed who likes to take a look at pro hockey experience and value that much more over junior experience, but at the same time, you have to kind of take a look at the variables and think about things as if they were swapped. If Marco Rossi was playing in the DEL this season, how good would he have been? Would he have had the same amount of points as Tim Stützle did? Furthermore, if Tim Stützle was swapped and playing on the Ottawa 67s this past season, would he have had the same earth-shattering point production that Marco Rossi did? Honestly, you could argue that he wouldn't, because Tim Stützle's quality to his game is more dynamic in my opinion. It's more exciting, it's more out-of-your-seat, riveting kind of hockey. Meanwhile, Marco Rossi, while he doesn't necessarily have that same kind of flash, his game is much more just get her done. Go out there, do what you need to do, make a pass if you need to, take a shot if you need to, set up a rebound if you need to, and get a goal on your next shift. Because Marco Rossi is just so strong at just that. It's weird to describe a guy who isn't an energetic ball of fire like a Tim Stützle is, who can produce points like a Marco Rossi can, because he is able to do it while remaining so poised, so calm, and so somewhat lackadaisical to a sense, that it's crazy to see just how able he is at getting points. And this quality of his seems so translatable to the NHL that some do have that confidence that he is going to be like that next year. And some do have that confidence in him so much to the point that they'd be arguing that he is the second overall prospect in this 2020 NHL draft behind Alexis Lafrenière. So, have I made a pitch for that? Obviously, I'm not going to sit here and say that Rossi is my second best prospect. In my opinion, he is third. But, you know, these prospects are good. And they're so good to the point that you could mix and match and you could argue the tiny little details that make one a little bit better than the other. And it obviously depends on who you ask and what teams you're cheering for and what teams are looking for as well. So have that in the comments below. That's just my little ending statement here. I hope you enjoyed this video. So that's Ross99, and bye.